Rick, it's great to see you.
Hey, good morning, Keith. How you doing today?
Fantastic now that I'm with you.
Yeah, always great to be with you.
Hey, you ready for this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the title of this one is Science-Based Hacks for Healthy Living. I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm more on the other side of the brain, which has to do with literature and history and geography, and I'm not a math science guy at all. But I must tell you that since I've been involved in the practice, I've been very interested in how we can hack our brains or our emotional, psychological attitudes in helping ourselves live a better life. And so couple of things that have happened to me lately that I think are maybe worth sharing, and that is there's a fellow named Huberman, Andrew Huberman. He's not an MD, he's a PhD, and he's a tenured professor at Stanford. And he does a wonderful job making scientific points for lay people like me, people who don't have a scientific bent, don't have a handle on the language, the vocabulary of science, but he makes it so easy for lay people to understand. And his research is so interesting. And he has his podcast. I don't think it's daily, but it's a couple of times a week. And it's called Huberman, Huberman Lab, Huberman Lab. And if you can't find the podcast, he's all over YouTube. And it's really great. His research is focused pretty much on brain development, neuroplasticity, also the idea of neural regeneration, the possible to recreate some things that may have been atrophied or have disappeared that can be regrown. And it's very interesting how he talks about this stuff. And the point of all of this is to say that the brain and the body are malleable. They're malleable. We know that from watching ourselves progress when we're in a workout program. My experience in particular, remember when I started with ToBeRe, I was 45 pounds heavier than I am today. With the program that you and others encouraged me to participate in, that you devised, I dropped the 45 pounds, became stronger, and so forth. So that plasticity, that changeability, I think also applies to our brains. And so Huberman is trying to show folks that you're not stuck with where you are. You can always move and you can always change. And I love the idea that he's using science-based tools to help people optimize their health and performance. And he also does a great podcast. I just listened to it a while back on sleep hacks, how to get to sleep easier without using chemicals, without using any additives at night, just by using thoughts and controlling those thoughts. Very similar to some of the things we've heard about in Zen or Buddhism or other cultures that rely on training the brain and using the brain as a tool for well-being. One more point I want to make about this, and that's I want to give you something solid to take away, other than just the reference to Huberman. Since we're dealing with Mayo, and we have a lot of folks who know way more than I do about this kind of thing, I just want to highlight four things that have made me really appreciate the idea that there's a brain-body connection and that things within our own bodies can help us live a better life. For example, let's talk about hormones for just a second. You know, it's so interesting that humans are at the mercy of all kinds of emotions, and emotions often come from hormones. And I was thinking, okay, how could you apply that in a way that would optimize health instead of tear down or diminish our experience as humans? You know, anger and frustration, humiliation, hate. Those are one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is something like a beautiful, joyful experience of being alive. So I was doing a little bit of reading about this, and Huberman helped me with his podcast. And one of the things he was talking about was you can stimulate your hormones within your body by doing exercise. You know, exercise obviously creates endorphins. When we go out and we have a afternoon of skiing, oh my goodness, how great we feel. Even if you start out that first run with all kinds of worries and concerns and temptations about doing things you don't want to do, and it's just a kind of a mixed bag of not feeling well. By the time you finish that last run for that morning, that endorphin stuff is kicked in. That exercise has really created some hormones for you that create this overall feeling of well-being. I mean, everybody who's ever exercised intensely knows that feeling, and it's there every day. You can go out and grab it right now. The other thing I was thinking about was, okay, dopamine. Dopamine's another one of those feel-good hormones. Where does it come from? And I think the bottom line on dopamine seems to be that you can stimulate dopamine production with music. Isn't that interesting? With music, you can take music that you love, maybe something that's anchored to a beautiful idea when you first fell in love, or you had your first kiss, or you had your first child, and you were listening to something relaxing after the baby was born, and that music reminds you of something about well-being and goodness. So music is one of those things that stimulates dopamine, along with nature, being in nature. Even if you don't do ski runs at 100 miles an hour, but you go out and you take a walk in nature, and there's no other people around, and you're just doing a walking meditation, just trying to clear your mind. Nature is one of those stimulants for dopamine. Serotonin is another one. How about serotonin creating another area of well-being in your life? And that comes about by sunlight exposure. In Arizona, you don't want to be out in the sun at noon. That's probably pretty stressful. But if you can get some morning sun, say 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock before it gets too hot, that morning sunlight stimulates serotonin production, and that can be very helpful for well-being. And finally, my favorite, uh, oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hug hormone. In other words, it's the physical affection hormone. Just hugging another person, feeling like you're embraced, or feeling like you're cuddled, and feeling like there's a well-being that comes from another person appreciating you. That oxytocin stimulation is another one of those glows that helps us have a better life, I think. So anyway, those are the four bigs on the hormones. I really hope that people give it a shot and try some things that are different to get them out of the rut and get them out of feeling stuck and then feeling great and on top of your game.
Oh, Rick. Yeah, I got nothing to add, man. I'm a big fan of everything that you said in terms of some of those tips for better living, healthy living. The hormones, I think I'm checking all the boxes on those. And I'm really interested in how I could even increase those hormones in my life since so they're so important to really maximizing your life experience and vitality. So, Rick, thank you for a great show, man. That was fantastic. I can't wait to our listeners hear what you had to share.
Well, thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. It's really helpful to have some ideas outside of what we normally think about. And the idea that we can control our own happiness sometimes is lost in us because we're thinking that happiness is external, and it's not. And these four hormones can create the homegrown joy that all of us are capable of.
Absolutely, Rick. I love you.
I love you, buddy. Adios.
Thank you. Bye-bye.